Dun, dun. Okay, what's going on, guys? Welcome to another edition of the Narik Chase channel. Thank you guys for being here for another excellent episode of Character Ranker, episode 9. And I have with me on this episode Ken, KP, and we're going
Boo, boo, he sucks. Don't listen to him.
to, whoever said that ought to be shot.
Pow! All right, they're going.
With the boomstick.
Any of you freaking creeps touch me, you get the boomstick. If you can tell us where that's from, I'll be very impressed because there's only one movie that ever comes up that way.
I kind of want to say it, but I want somebody to figure it out.
No, let's not ruin it. But yeah, I love that. That movie is just absolutely awesome. Just love it.
That's a fun ride. That is a fun ride. It's still really good today.
It is. It's still great. You get a good crack out of it, and even in the even now, I mean, granted, it's just awesome.
Mm-hmm. This episode we're going to be talking about Michelle Pfeiffer's performance as Catwoman in the 1992 Batman Returns film. Now, the rules for Character Ranker is this: we are picking characters of live adaptation of either a video game, comic book, manga, anime, a book, a novel, cartoon, just as long as it's based off one of those aspects, we're good to go. So we're going to pick the comic book character Catwoman for this episode.
Catwoman, There's been so many actresses that have actually played Catwoman too. This was
I
the solely dedicated standalone Catwoman, though.
We're gonna do like a couple of those, and then we'll go back and we'll have like a versus. Because I'm even gonna bring in some of the older ones from the original Batman series from the '60s.
Yeah.
We're gonna go back. We're going way back.
I mean, we have modern film with Halle Berry. We had Michelle Pfieffer. We had Princess Diaries. What's her name?
Anne Hathaway.
Anne Hathaway. I mean, that's the most recent iterations. But I mean, you can go back to the '60s. You can go a long way back.
All right. Let's go ahead and get to the meat and potatoes of the conversation. Michelle Pfieffer has always been known as a good actress and a pretty, established sex symbol in the film industry. And it didn't really come as a shock when she was cast as Catwoman. Now, talking like I was knowledgeable about these things back then, but truth be told, I was like 4 or 5 years old. But I've always had a special place in my heart for Batman Returns, and she was definitely one of the highlights of the film. What are your actual just thoughts about her performance as Catwoman?
Michelle Pfeiffer version in Batman Returns, I thought was very interesting how they got the character, because originally Selena Kyle, man, I am really pulling out some stuff today. Yeah, Selena Kyle was just a cat burglar, and in this one, she was a little bit different. She ended up getting crossed in a situation where she ended up getting killed and kind of returned and took on a cat persona. But I think it was very different, because you could see as the character went across the initial creation of our character to becoming like completely, from a recluse, nerdy, kind of quiet lady to, she kind of went into that sex symbol thing with the latex, which I think everybody remembers that outfit.
Everybody remember that.
I remember hearing her complaining about, they had literally had to sew her in that outfit every time. They had I forgot how many versions of the ones they did, but you gotta imagine. And then as you see her character progress in her suit, as she deteriorates, and I'm not really sure she wants to be the Catwoman or she wants to be Selena Kyle, her suit starts tearing apart and kind of falling apart, kind of as her character is falling apart, which was kind of an interesting contrast in the movie. But comparatively watching the 1960s version to actually seeing this version was like night and day difference. And I thought it was a very interesting take on how they, brought some of the traits in, but kind of went on a side story with that particular Catwoman. So I thought it was really good. I enjoyed it. It's probably one of my more favorite. The Michael Keaton Batmans are probably some of my favorite ones anyway. So definitely enjoyable character at that point.
I can agree with you on that. I liked, I did like her performance as the character. I thought she did a fantastic job. She kind of, she there was some moments where she was kind of phoning it in a little bit, but you could tell she was having fun with the role.
Oh
Uh,
yeah,
it was like when I made the talk. I'm talking about Poison Ivy and Batman Forever and her character ranker. I'm like, she's supposed to be a sex symbol, so it's like she's sexy. She doesn't need to act sexy.
yeah. She just it eludes, it exudes from
Yeah,
her character.
and there are moments where Michelle Pfeiffer kind of goes into that territory a little bit, but it's nowhere near as much as the Poison Ivy portrayal.
No,
But so I really did enjoy her performance as both Selena Kyle and Catwoman. There was a thing with the character that I didn't like, and I kind of wish they did it better. And it's the same thing that happened in with the Poison Ivy character. You get because it was like the transition was really fast of
yeah,
her becoming her having this sudden transformation, and then instead of her kind of growing into it, she just kind of like
he was there.
yeah.
Boom, just
I'm like I was
wow.
watching it not too long ago, and I was like, okay, she's reborn, and then she started doing the stuff that she was doing. I'm like, why? Why is she like putting the suit on? Why is she doing
Yeah, where
stuff?
did it come from? You know why?
Yeah,
You know it, and
that
that's true. It's very true. It's just like just like in Batman Forever. Poison Ivy, same thing. It's just like okay, the character's created, okay, and they're just kind of throwing in the fact that you're not even you're bringing the character to obviously not to life, but you're not developing that character out like you are with the Gotham series.
mhm.
Where they have literally spent weeks building a character. You're dealing with a character who's just magically, or I guess what's the word I'm looking for here? They're assuming that the audience is already familiar with the character,
Yes,
and so therefore we skip a lot of the growth and development of that character into that's the comic book character, and we're going to go with it.
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, I don't know any other way to kind of verbalize that, but yeah,
yeah.
that's exactly what they do. I mean, you have and just like Bane. I mean, Bane was the same way. But we saw Bane in uh
You mean Dark Knight Rises or
yeah, Dark Knight Rises. When we saw Bane in there, we saw the same thing that happened. Bane. Well, actually, they kind of you got a little bit of Bane. He was immediately the character that you saw, but then you saw the
what?
background to that character.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
They brought you to a flashback where he was in a prison, but I mean, it's not truly the correct story, but they did bring you back to it. So,
At least you
um,
have somewhere
yeah,
to start, and then it did take place over a long period of time.
and same thing they did with Scarecrow too. We had the same problem. With Doctor Crane. He just, I mean, he was already kind of nuts to begin with, and then he really stepped it up and went crazy, and then he got exposed to his own stuff, which even made him more crazy. So
Yep.
yeah, you had a lot of things going on right there that were, I hate when they do that. I mean, granted, I know it's time. We know kinds of constraints rule movies, and when you push 2 hour or 3 hour movies, you have to kind of, again, we know Poison Ivy, we know what she is, we know what she does, what's her abilities, so we create the character through whatever incident, and then we bring the character to what most people know.
Yeah.
So, and unfortunately, that kind of sometimes really takes away from the movie because it would be really great to see a development or have the character. A lot of movies don't want to develop the character over a period of movies. I mean, Batman, yes, the main character, sure, but our criminals are coming in there, uh, trying to be
That-
reinvented
yeah.
again, and they're
It,
doing this thing all over again.
it's
Um,
like when you come out with a villain like this, is there's two things you need to have with your antagonists. There's either two ways you can put them. You can either uh, develop them from the beginning of the movie, or have them already developed. You can't just have them not developed and then they just make that jump like that.
yeah, because
Like,
I think a lot of times it's done for people who don't know the characters. But I mean, granted, it's like this much of instant. Poison Ivy gets exposed to the chemicals. Boom, we have Poison Ivy. Now the people who know that character can carry on with it. It's just that brief moment of what's our audience going to be looking for in this movie? Just like in our Marvel universe, I mean, we usually, in the DCU and in the MCU, we get creation, development, and then their own movie, and then a joint movie. So we saw Captain America, we saw Iron Man, and all the characters individually get a movie and go. With DCU, they kind of did one or two movies and then a group movie, and then they're going to do one or two more movies, independently. Like we got Aquaman coming out here in, I believe, December or November. I think it's December 9th, I think. I wish I had like a calendar like right here next to my computer that told me all those dates. But that's it's a matter of time, and I hate that they do that. Unfortunately, it's time constraints. But if they could develop a movie, like Catwoman can really be a phenomenal character. If you've watched any of the animated series, they developed the characters greatly. If you watched Gotham, they developed the character Selena Kyle as a kid and growing her up. As Bruce is growing up. So there's a lot of stuff that we can do. It's just TV gives us time. Movies gives us short bursts, but a lot of coolness.
Yeah, I think what they could have did to make her story better, because I did like the fact that they did develop her a bit with her interactions with Bruce Wayne,
yes.
But I did like the fact that they did focus on Catwoman's relationship with Batman, Selena's relationship with Bruce. I did like that. I did like that because that did help.
That was one of the really good things on that particular movie, and any of the Catwoman so far that have shown up in the series has definitely been a plus. That one's probably one of the more forerunners, even in Batman Forever, or not Batman Forever, sorry, Dark Knight Returns, where you had a development of Selena Kyle with Bruce Wayne.
Yep.
So
what did you think about the overall costume design and the weapons and all of that stuff?
The Michelle Pfieffer one, they were shooting for sex symbol right there. Period. They wanted that attention because you throw our classic, our 1960s Eartha Kitt, and I can't think of the other lady off the top of my head. Wore the skin tight suits, but they weren't. It was kind of more at the time. I mean, that was common. I mean, but they didn't have like weapons or anything. She was a thief. And for the most part, in the 60s version, you never really saw her getting too many fights, and you never really saw her with any type of weapons or anything. So you step into Michelle Pfeiffer's character, and okay, yeah, they went for the suit. That's an attention getter. But then she took the thimbles and made claws, and then she had the whip.
Where the hell she get that whip from?
I never saw where they never really brought that in. They just showed the claws because she was sewing them in to her suit. But I don't remember anything about that whip until it just comes flying out.
Didn't she get it like at a store or something?
I would have to go back and look. It's been a little while since I've watched the Batman Returns.
Oh,
but if you wanted my attention, you got it.
Yeah.
And like I say, the origin story is a little different, which is fine. I'm good with that. Making a little bit of difference is great. We don't always have to stick to the main story, but let's stay to the character trueness. So I was cool with that.
I didn't mind the origin story for it. Like you said, I wish the development was a little bit better. I think it should have kind of played like the Catwoman movie with Halle Berry a little bit, where she ended up finding out something bad about this corporation, and she dies as a result of it. But she even kind of did it in the movie, where instead of her just kind of like, okay, I'm going to go do this crazy stuff, I'm going to start messing with this organization. I'm going to try to find more files, and that's how she generally turns into more of a thief.
It gives you that thieving thing right there. She knows the company intimately enough that they offed her, and they thought they offed her. Again, a slightly different origin story, still keeping within the realm of the Catwoman, still there, and then she becomes, she develops into that thief to get the information to put these guys away. Kind of, again, your anti-hero. She's still a criminal, but why is she being a criminal? What's the why?
Yeah.
And so, they definitely had that going.
All right. Before we wrap it up, I want to ask you this: either what they could have done better with the character's story, or what she could have done to with the character to portray it better. Like, what are your ideas on that?
Well, I think with the Michelle Pfeiffer character, we saw a little bit of that development as it was going. Remember, I did the comparison between when she first was born, or as our cat person, our Catwoman. You know, the suit's solid, her persona's solid. She's a solid character and trying to do her thing. But as the movie progresses, you see the suit falling apart. You know, the heck. You see the suit falling apart. You see her mixed emotions of what she's doing. You see that the questioning in her head, and it relates to her or as her costume kind of breaks apart. You see her hair coming out. She's not quite the same character she was when she first came back as the Catwoman persona. So yes, they did develop that in there, and I don't know if that was intent. I mean, there's probably intent to that, but you know, to me, that's what I saw as the character came across. Because at the end, he was trying to help her and take her away, so she didn't take that next step. Like he's already done. He kind of figured he's past that point, but she's not ready yet. And so for that, now with the Holly Berry one, um, again, a little bit different origin story, how it goes. I'm trying to remember how it ended because it's been a long time since I've even seen that movie. Because I've only seen that one time. Because I wasn't really, I just didn't jump into it because I think it was Sharon Stone was the bad
Yeah,
guy per se.
yeah,
Um, and it was more she kept that confidence through the whole thing as she was reborn, and you really didn't see anything change. You know, she was Holly Berry's secretary, administrative assistant, boom, Catwoman. And she stayed that Catwoman throughout the movie, and she got more and more confident as she went,
yeah,
and grew. But you don't see the breaking of the Selena Kyle. It's just pretty much Catwoman all the way through. So
yeah,
to me, the Pfeiffer emotionally and physically was a lot better character. Uh, Holly Berry's was not so much as developed, but entertaining, but not as developed.
yeah, yeah. It's like, as far as the depth of the character, Michelle Pfeiffer hit it. And if you want like the super badass Catwoman, Halle Berry hit that.
Yeah. If you want the more emotional or physical person, then that's the Michelle Pfeiffer version.
Mhm.
Very much so.
All right. So if you could rank the character, what would your score be?
The Pfeiffer, I would say out of a five, I guess is what our scale has been lately. Yeah, five. I like Pfeiffer. Well, I don't. Holly Berry would probably be a three. Pfeiffer would be a four. I'm not going to say they're all the way to the extreme because we have found a little bit of flaw in our review, but I think Pfeiffer's was a little bit better in the storyline that I'm used to with a little change. And Holly Berry's character as Catwoman could have used some more improvement. But I mean, it's, you know, butt kicking, it's on. So I'm gonna give her a three. Michelle Pfeiffer a four.
I'm gonna give Michelle Pfeiffer a four, and it's because not only is Batman Returns a classic, it's still one of the held as one of the best superhero slash comic book movies,
Mhm.
and a large reason of that is Michelle Pfeiffer as Catwoman. Does a great job. She was beautiful. She was sexy. She was crazy.
Yeah, very crazy.
Moments. She had some really good moments. We'll go ahead and end it there. And guys, thank you again for watching the video. Let us know in the comment section below. What did you think about Michelle Pfeiffer? What did you think of her as Catwoman? What did you think of her as Selena Kyle? Also, be sure to rate her 1 through 5, 1 being the worst, 5 being the best. Be sure to hit that like, share, subscribe, and the notification button to get the best of what's going on this channel. And we'll catch you guys later.